On this session of INI9, I have with me Farahnaz Ispahani, a well-known Pakistani politician and well-regarded scholar. And I thought we'll take this opportunity to talk about what I have called a genocide against the minorities in Pakistan. Sort of understand whether she thinks that there is genocide going on, and if so, what can be done to stop it and protect the rights of the people of Pakistan. So do you think that there is a genocide going on?
Absolutely. I have this issue with a lot of people in human rights organizations, politicians in Pakistan, etc., who shy away and in fact really put down this word. And I sort of think back to Nazi Germany. Because, you know, when they first came for the homosexuals or the gypsies, or no one was using the word genocide, if you remember.
Right.
And at that point, therefore, because this word was not being used, the United States and all these countries, no one came to anyone's aid. You have to spot these things when they're starting at their inception. And as I have traced back in the research for my book, this actually started as early as 1948, 1 year after the creation of Pakistan, after the partition of India and Pakistan. If there is not a single community today, whether it's non-Muslim, so whether it's Hindu, Christian, Sikhs, Ahmadi, etc., or Muslim, the Ahmadi Muslims, the Shia Muslims, who are not being target killed, whose places of worship are not being attacked, whose young girls are not being forcibly converted.
Right.
And they can't convert back because that's punishable by death.
Right.
The blasphemy law, etc., many laws we have on our books are absolutely. So basically, the whole culture has created an environment where a sizable amount of the population has started hating minorities.
But I can understand, because I use the word genocide very, very sparingly, given the history of that word. And I think it's also been an abused word, because people have used the word genocide to characterize lesser crimes and thereby devaluing it. But the condition of the minorities in Pakistan, and I used to think it was just a 10-year-old story. Now that you're telling me it's not 1948, and even at 10 years, the killings over 10 years, or trying to wipe out an entire community over a period of 10 years, it's slow motion. So I used to think that it's a slow motion genocide. And because it's slow motion, there were very few people willing to accept that there's a genocide going on, as opposed to whether it's Rwanda or Bosnia, where hundreds or thousands of people were being killed in short periods of time. This is a longer period of time, but a few tens, a scores, 10 or 20 people being killed every day. And in fact, in the case of Pakistan, we've become so inured to the fact that the killings are going on, that a killing of 25 or 30 people just by the virtue of their identity in Pakistan doesn't make news in the Indian press, it doesn't make news in the international press. So, given this situation, do you think that there is a possibility there are either internal or external ways to prevent this from happening, to halt this, slow this down, and then ultimately to prevent this?
The problem was after the Quaid-e-Azam, Mr. Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, died very, very soon, almost like within the first year after partition. The establishment needed to come up with an ideology. And the ideology they hit upon was Islam. And this is where you get into a problem. It doesn't matter if it's Islam or communism, under Mao, or Nazism under Hitler. When you seize on any one thing as the identity of a state, you are immediately starting what I call a purification process. So the moment this Islamic ideology came about, every time there was a war with India, Hindus would be attacked and killed in Pakistan. Every time there was friction with the West, our Christian populations would be targeted. Every time there's tension with Iran, the Shia populations. So those of us, those Pakistanis who are not strict Sunni Muslim men, are basically not equal citizens of the state. So the moment you're not an equal citizen of the state, and the state gives you no protections, and you're being killed every day, this is where you get. Second and most important issue to me is the same jihadi groups that the military establishment created and which weak civilian leaders allowed the creation of, those groups, when they were no longer fighting, or it's off season to fight in Kashmir, or they're no longer in Afghanistan at a certain point, when they come back to Pakistan, the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi and all of these other sort of jihadi groups, they are allowed to let off steam by doing what LEJ likes best, which is killing Shias.
That's right.
So they go after the Hazara Shias, for example, in Quetta. So we created these killing machines for the strategic depth craziness of exporting Islam.
Right.
And those same people are bringing the purification argument back home and purifying our own country.
Then how would Pakistan solve its own problem?
The only way, I mean, there are two ways. The slow way, which has to be done, but sometimes I worry it's too slow, is we just finished one 5-year democratic term, the last Pakistan People's Party coalition government. Then we've had subsequently Mr. Nawaz Sharif, another democratic government being elected. They have to finish their term, because until we can start to strengthen civilian mechanisms and institutions, we will never be able to get the military establishment out of foreign policy, to get our inter-service intelligence and intelligence agencies from focusing on, instead of spying on us and killing journalists and harassing politicians, they should be gathering information which could be of use in protecting Pakistan.
That's right.
I feel as a Pakistani, this issue is ours.
Right.
We have to make the change. But till we change the narrative, till there are enough of us saying what I'm saying.
But then what would be the faster way to do this?
The faster way, which will be extremely unpopular for me to say, but I believe countries like the United States, I believe countries which give Pakistan military aid, which give Pakistan any kind of aid, there have to be some human rights limits. I mean, in the recent United States report on human rights, Pakistan once again was not put in the list of the in the countries where the most extreme violations of human rights against people of various religions and ethnicities. But India was pointed at. And so I find this a very strange thing where, because of their own internal foreign policies, they're being duplicitous with the world, and they're not helping Pakistanis like myself achieve a better Pakistan.
Thank you. On that note, thank you very much. That was a nice conversation.
Thank you.